we've got a number of supporters that have asked very similar questions about how you found the Gold Coast. What was the most interesting thing that you noticed out there? And a couple of questions about snakes. Now, does that mean anything to you guys? Was there a snake spotted at some point?
There was a snake, I believe, a carpet adder. It was spotted on the training park. There was a training session against the Canadians, and we were training, and all of a sudden the boys who weren't playing appeared on the top of the hill in between the two pitches. And it wasn't until afterwards that we found out, the guys had come in and said there was a snake and it had headed up to the top corner, and there was one of the Canadian boys doing fitness in the top corner, so I decided it was probably a good idea to let them know there was a snake up there, because Australia's got a few fairly poisonous snakes, or deadly snakes. The snake varied in size though, depending on who you spoke to. I think Rory Lawson had it at 8 feet, whereas Nick DeLuca maybe had it about 4 feet. So there was a bit of exaggeration going on somewhere.
Nick DeLuca had it by the tail at one point as well, so he was pretty close up with it. Idiot.
So there's a few hard sessions, clearly, in Australia. One of the questions is, again, what did you manage to do to get to see some of the country in Australia whilst you were there, or was it very much
not
focused
really.
on training?
It was part of the training camp, albeit it was in a different part of the world. It was all planned to follow on from the stuff we did back home in Scotland. All the hard work we did in Scotland, we did more hard work in Australia, but a lot of it was more mentally demanding. It was trying to get the structure and the game right, trying to, the closer you get to the games, you get a better understanding of what you're trying to do. On top of the hard work we did. Now, we trained pretty early in the morning due to being up quite early with, as I say, some of the guys being up at 1 o'clock. We would train early to avoid, the worst of the heat. So it meant we had quite a lot of time off, in afternoon, early evening, before meetings and dinner, and I think most of the guys just relaxed. It was a brilliant place we were staying in, the Sanctuary Cove, really sort of nice, relaxing place, almost like a retirement village in many senses. I think it suited everybody perfectly, just to either watch a movie or sit by the pool and just sort of recharge your batteries and think about what's coming up in the next 4 or 5 weeks.
Great. And then clearly heading down now, if we look at the Romania game, Alan McKee has asked, were you surprised about the standard of the Romanians? Maybe Al, to you first.
No, not at all. I mean, we knew the Romanians would be good. The disappointing thing is, we focused on ourselves. We focused primarily on our performance, and for 40 minutes we were where we needed to be, and for 40 minutes we weren't. So that was the disappointing thing. It wasn't surprising in any way by what they brought. We knew they would be strong up front. We knew how we were going to deal with it, and at times we didn't do it very well. But in saying that, and this may be a question you're coming on to, when we were in behind the post at 24-21, to get out with a 5-point victory, absolutely delighted. We were in a tough situation there, and we showed a lot of character. Whether we should have been in that position in the first place, there's no doubt we shouldn't have been. But we did what we needed to do, and now we can move on to Georgia.
And what was that conversation like behind the post? It must have been pretty strong stuff.
It was tough, yeah, because you find yourself in positions like that in test matches or all rugby games from time to time. But obviously in a tournament scenario, you lose your first game, then you're really making it very difficult for yourself. So we talked about that. We only had possibly a minute or 2 minutes, and we talked about the fact that this could well be a kind of defining moment already, and the reaction was top class.
One of the questions that's come in is about Georgia. We'll talk about that in a bit more detail in a moment or two. But Georgia are clearly going to have a very powerful pack. And how do you intend to deal with that? Clearly there will be some discussions later today. But in terms of the Georgia game, maybe Chris, to you, how do you think that will shape up?
Yeah, I think it'll be fairly similar in many ways. I think the Georgia and Romania both played in the Six Nations B tournament as it's known. And Georgia came out on top. They beat Romania this year. Again, big side, physical side. And as Al says, you concentrate on yourself. And what we did poorly, I suppose, was make too many mistakes and give away too many penalties in such a short period of the game, which starved us of possession, and meant we couldn't then control the possession and control the tempo of the game. So I see Georgia being fairly similar. I think every team who plays the first game in the World Cup, or every first game in the World Cup, is a battle. We've seen that already. We've seen that in other World Cups, and there's no hiding that. Everybody's trained for 3 months, and the ultimate focus really has been the first game. Now we have to face Georgia, who play their first game 4 days after we've played a game. So that'll bring its own challenges. But you can see across the board that these games are really tough, and it'll be no different. But what you do is concentrate on yourself. You do small parts of the game well, and just believe you can do it. And that's what we did on Saturday, and hopefully we can do that on Wednesday.
Well, we've got a question just coming here from Facebook. It's Andrew Rogers, who asks, do you think the Romanians will be as successful in stopping Argentina and England playing the way they want to as they were in challenging Scotland? What chance do you think they have of getting a result against either England or Argentina?
I think they've got a great chance. I think this is an open group. Obviously the Jordans are the one team we've not seen in action yet. The England-Argentina game was probably just as most people expected, hugely physical, hugely combative, close, could have gone either way. And I think Romanians, they'll take a lot of pleasure and get a lot of positives from the game against us. And this is an open group. I think anyone can beat anyone.
One of the questions that's come in from Harry Bruce is, why do you think many players are struggling with kicking New Zealand? We've seen a number of kicks missed, and what's your view on that?
Well, it's the conditions aren't great. That's no excuse. That's fact. It was windy. It was really windy on Saturday. The grounds are quite open. Understandably, obviously, the England game was played inside, which blows that theory away. But listen, it's a hard skill. It's a hard thing to do, and it is open environments. And who knows, when you're kicking a goal, you maybe had a poke in the eye, maybe a bang in the head, you maybe got a dead leg. During the game, it's not as if you're fresh for every kick, and I think you've seen a lot of sort of indifferent kicking, but that, I assume, as the games go on and the tournament moves on, we'll probably fine tune a little, but it's important to work on these things, and everybody does.
It's a question that's coming from Stephen Cameron, maybe for you all. Who's the strongest of the forwards in the gym?
Probably Big Ewan or Dicko. Different exercises, different people actually. Because I'm thinking about that, and Jeff Cross is in the squat. Has got some ridiculous weight. So it varies depending across the positions as well. We work in our units. I get the pleasure of working with Big Richie Gray, who at 21 is stronger than I have or will ever be, which is demoralising.
Another question that's coming from Karen Everett Cox talks about the New Zealand haka. Now the question is, how do you guys feel when you've faced the haka previously? Do you get inspired by it, or does it intimidate you?
Inspired. I think it's a great thing. Sport's got these little quirks that come out, and the haka is obviously reaped in history, and it's a fantastic thing to be in front of. It's a privilege, and it does inspire me. I've faced it a couple of times, and you've got to use it, because if you don't and you're on the back foot from it, then obviously they've got an advantage as soon as that first ball's kicked. But I honestly believe it's a great thing.
Chris, for you?
Yeah, I agree. You respect it. You enjoy facing it, but in all honesty, your mind is on what's your first impact in the game going to be. What's the first decision you have to make? What's the first skill you're going to have to perform? So although you're enjoying the moment, although you're respecting the challenge, and it is we're lucky enough that we have had the chance to face it. You're thinking about the first thing you got to do, because you don't want to go into the game thinking, oh, well, that was intimidating, or that was nice, or it's switch on to the game, switch on to be focused, and switch on to what you have to do first.
Talking of focus away from rugby, just for a moment, Gwen Butler's asked the question, do you guys like playing other sports? And if so, what sports do you enjoy playing away from rugby?
I'll play everything. I'm just a bit hyperactive, I suppose. As a kid, I played all sports. You get my hand on whatever's on TV. Usually, it's the age-old thing. It's tennis in the summer, it's darts over Christmas, it's snooker in the winter, it's football, it's golf, you name it. So I certainly play as many sports as possible. And I think it's good for kids to do that, to develop just spatial awareness and stuff. Maybe not so much at the darts, I suppose, but yeah, since we've been out there, we were lucky. Got a couple of games of golf in Australia. As yet, we've not had time here, and whether we get time here's another story, but I suppose here's been a bit of golf, which I think John Barclay's been actually winning most of the golf tournaments.
Is that right?
Aye.
He's a bandit.
High handicap.
All 16.
High handicap.
You play a bit of golf, Al, yourself?
Played a wee bit of golf, not very successfully, but that was similar to Chris. I played just about everything that I could when I was growing up. Still got an interest in all that stuff as well, the tennis, badminton, squash, but it's just time now as much as anything. Good thing about pre-season is that you occasionally get the opportunity to do a bit of cross-training, so if we can get in a squash court, we'll do that. So anything I can get the time to do, really.
Right.